Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet-Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet-Dale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast. This is us. We're two wifey types, the queer trans women. We talk about stuff what we done in the week.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm sleepy, apparently.
I'm sleepy too.
It's very warm.
It's very warm, and I went on a lot of roller coasters today.
You've done the big spinny.
My body has gone, I moved so fast.
My wife has been shaken and stirred.
More than once I went from 0 to 60 faster than a vehicle should go. This is very speedy.
Except this vehicle that was specifically designed for it.
It is specifically designed. I was in a queue behind a middle-aged man Googling what is the G-force of stealth at Thorpe Park, then Googling what is the G-force of Formula One car.
Am I doing a Formula One today?
Am I as fast as Formula One? I shouldn't have been reading, but I was curious. It doesn't go as high. Stealth doesn't go as high of a top speed as a Formula One car can go, but it does accelerate from 0 to 60 faster than an F1 car does. So more acceleration, but less ultimate high speed.
I guess being clamped to the track, it's easier to do so.
Yeah, and also the fact that you're going directly up in the air is probably going to slow you down a bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
What about the acceleration on the drops? Surely that's even faster.
I mean, you accelerate on the... There's no, propulsion on the drop. Once you reach to the top, it's only the force that pushed you to the top lets you fall the other way, so you almost stop at the top, which is why that roller coaster occasionally has rollbacks, where you sort of roll up and you didn't quite get enough to crest the hill, so you roll backwards. Which I've never been on, but I've seen images, and it feels like it would be interesting to just suddenly, backwards we go.
Try it again with a bit more welly.
Yeah.
So you went to Thorpe Park. That was a thing you played this week.
That's the thing I did this week.
Were there any new rides since your last arrival?
No new rides, but there is a thing I didn't experience last time that I did experience this time. Because...
boredom.
No. So, somewhere in Thorpe Park there is a 4D cinema that has, screening, Ready Player One. Ooh. And the last year when I looked at that, I was like, as much as I'm curious, how long is Ready Player One? That's a 2.5 hour film. I don't want to lose 2.5 hours of...
What a weird thing to do when you've spent that much money going to Thorpe Park.
No. Let's rewind. Turns out, the signs are a little misleading. It's the Ready Player One experience.
Oh, right, it's like Muppets 4D.
I went and checked this out. What it is a quote-unquote 4D theatre that was made in 1995 and hasn't had its tech updated since.
Excellent.
Playing a 15-minute truncated version of the 2.5 hour long movie Ready Player One. A film which Didn't
that only come out relatively recently?
I think it was a good 5 years ago. I feel like it was several years back. But point being, it sure is a very truncated look at that film. A film that I had no interest in seeing, but I was like, you know what? For 15 minutes, I'll see what they put together. And it was the opening crawl trying to pitch you the idea of the film, and 2 race sequences without any real connective context to them.
Who needs connective context?
In a chair that, I've been to 4D cinema screenings in, a modern era that, move around in interest... Your chair moves around in interesting ways to simulate the movement in the thing. This is not that. This chair has one movement, and that movement is forcefully throw itself 45 degrees back, and then slowly return to seating. It can also blow air at you and spray water at you.
And you've got the sort of thing I was expecting.
Paper 3D glasses.
Ooh.
And they've got what they describe as a tickling sensation of the legs.
Okay, so it's very much like Muppets 3D.
Yeah,
4D.
Except where in Muppet Vision 3D, it's it's not it's a relatively gentle sensation on the back of your legs. You're right there, Smudge. Here, it feels like someone is really, really fast slapping the back of your leg with tassels.
Oh no.
Just bam, 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 bam. It's kind of painful.
There was a moment in Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Yes.
That has, all the white mice escape into the audience and they run past your feet, which I guess is basically the same
it's
tech.
lightly poking the back of your leg. That was lightly poking. This is something slapping at speed past your legs.
Okay. I think that always felt to me like or the time I did it, lots of small things moving past you, I don't know. Maybe you say repeatedly slapping. What I'm picturing then is like a feather dustery type thing that over the years has just become sticky. Maybe that's why it's slapping you now.
It feels like leather straps spinning at speed on a rotator. It's weird.
Kinky.
So yeah, that is the thing I had not previously done, and it was a fascinating novelty, if for no other reason than very clearly the staff, because it's kind of themed like an American theatre. The staff were very clearly told to put on American accents.
Right.
And the people who were working there cannot do an American accent. It made it impossible to understand the safety briefing they were giving.
Excellent.
And they kept slipping between, I don't know what American accent they thought they were doing, and occasionally, slipping back into, oh, I think you're from Manchester.
Right.
I can hear it trying to break through. But yeah, largely it was a day of going on the same roller coasters I went on a year ago. I did the thing where I went, I've finished all the busy work things, and I'm going to go take a day out of the office. I'm going to go move around at speed.
I've done the accessibility summer showcase. Now I get a day out on the big spinnies.
Yeah, I'm going to move so fast my brain feels like it's rattling in my skull a little bit.
And then new ideas for AA will come out.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it was fun. I continue to appreciate the accessibility accommodations they have in place for being able to not do a queue, and they'll write down how long the queue would have been, and you just go spend that time after the ride sat doing something else, which is nice to not have to be in crowds, particularly today where there was school trips abound, and I really did not want to be wedged between loud, rowdy teenagers trying to impress each other.
Oh dear.
I did witness the school trip classic of a teacher shouting at someone, "There you are!" I'm going to throw in a fake name. "There you are, Jenkins! The bus has been waiting half an hour to leave and we couldn't find you! Where on earth have you been?" The school trip classic.
Ah, yes.
But yes, I managed to avoid having to spend too much time stood with overexcited teenagers, which I appreciate. Thank you for access accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
Many roller coaster, brain do spinny.
Brain do spinny.
Well, what about you? What are you playing this week?
I've been sort of I've been sort of poking around in the Switch 2 some more.
Yeah.
I've mildly pried myself away from Tears of the Kingdom. I basically got as far as need to find Minoru, and it's like, cool, you know what? I'm going to take this moment to...
It's a nice pause point.
Try some other things.
Yeah.
It's just straight after you've done the Princess Zelda fight.
Yeah.
And everything that entails. Spoilers.
It's the sort of end of an arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seemed like a fair place to pause and come out, and I've already got my second heart in the second row. So,
ooh, lovely.
I'm a good chunk through the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a stab at Splatoon 3.
Yes, because this recently had a Switch 2 update.
I mean, that wasn't the thing. It was mainly the fact that I haven't played Splatoon since Splatoon 2.
Yeah, we played a lot of Splatoon 2 when it first came out.
Yes, when I was recovering from lower surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a whole period where I hadn't had my Switch that long, and my dock just stopped working one day. So I had to send it away to Nintendo to get it repaired. I think they just replaced it in the end. They sent it back to me, no charge, no nothing.
Yeah.
And this was at a time when everyone was talking about I got a fake Switch dock or a cheap extra Switch dock, and it bricked my console. And I was
yeah.
like, oh god, I'm not going to risk fucking about. I can't afford a second dock, so hopefully Nintendo will repair it. And I'd spent so long during that period playing Splatoon 2 in handheld mode that by the time I got my dock back, I couldn't play it in...
Yeah,
in
you
docks.
just sort of acclimatised to handheld mode.
Yeah, I can only make the gyro stuff work if I'm moving the whole screen with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't click in my head properly. So yeah, it's been nice to sort of get back into some Splatoon 3.
Yeah.
Again, loading time's very nice. More than anything, I feel like it's difficult to navigate initially because it's so busy trying to be thematic.
Yeah.
And it's Yeah, okay, yeah, you were trying to tutorialize me at the beginning, but, like, we'd had the intro with the Squid Sisters talking about, like, welcome to the city, and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, and these are the maps that are happening, and this is this happening, and here's this new character that you probably don't give a fuck about.
They wanted to go bigger and grander, but in doing so, they kind of lost some of the charm of Splatoon 2 just being, hey, throw you in, just get going.
I mean, there was a little bit of that. It was like, here are the current maps. Okay, cool. Go to the plaza.
Yeah.
And there was so much tutorializing at the beginning of this that it was kind of washing out of my head.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, it wasn't giving you a chance to go the places. It like, when you first get to the initial plaza, it's like, this is over here, and 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 over there is that thing.
And you would, like, go into a shop and get 3 years of weapon, and pop-ups for weapons that were like, oh, and this weapon does this, and this weapon does this.
Eventually, the biggest problem was that first of all, I was like, I don't like the default clothes I'm wearing, I'll go and change my clothes.
Yeah.
So I went to change my clothes, and it was like, no, you have to go and be level 4 before you can change your clothes. Like, cool, okay. I'll go and do the thing in the sewer grate over there that I was sort of told, vaguely gestured towards, and there was some single player stuff over there.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, I'll go wander and have a look at that. Okay, now we're in a different... Now I've got on the train and found my way to an entirely different plaza, and I'm pretty sure this is just the one from Splatoon 2.
Yes, at some point they added the Splatoon 2 plaza as a cosmetic update, and I think it has all the same stuff. It's not functionally different.
Can't tell.
Just a different aesthetic.
Couldn't tell you. It feels like there might be some different stuff there. I honestly couldn't tell you. There's certainly a guy round the back alley that I hadn't spotted previously. Or maybe it does exist. That person does exist in
You
the
just
other
haven't found them.
thing. I haven't been able to find them. And then there's, like, the locker room. What is the locker room for, apart from just aesthetically jazzing up a locker? You can go and look at other people's lockers.
Not much
Sure,
from what I can
guess.
tell.
What? I can put stickers on it. I can arrange it. I can go into the locker room and look at other people's lockers.
Yeah.
Why? For what?
I
What
cannot
does
say.
any of this mean?
I cannot say.
Yeah. So there was that. And like apparently you can get larger lockers and different colour lockers, but so far I've just got a dull grey locker and I've stuck a weapon in it and a bunch of stickers on it. Yeah, there's so much going on, and like this morning I was just like, I'll just have a couple of games before
Yeah.
I gotta go to work. You know, it's such short sessions, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's like 3-minute matches.
I played a couple of sessions, then I was like, oh, I'll fuck about with the train a bit. And I went to what I thought was... I went to the Splatoon 2 plaza. Then I thought I was going back to the plaza I'd started at, but ended up in an entirely different single-player mode that I didn't even previously know was
is that the roguelike mode, maybe?
I don't know if it's a roguelike. It looks like just a single-player campaign.
Does it involve a tower, or is this...
There is a tower, yeah, but it doesn't seem to be particularly roguelikey.
Okay.
It's like just, hey, you gotta get these like colour chips that you put into this palette, and some of them will they'll have like different things to plug in, like poison ink.
I think this might be the roguelike mode, that you're doing a run and collecting your randomised upgrades and trying to get a certain distance
I've not encountered that so far. So far it's just been like,
okay.
Hey, I mean, maybe it becomes that if I lose, but like at the moment it's just been like, yeah, you go up in the thing.
Yeah.
You go to the next level. Okay, you're trying to plug in all of the slots on this palette, and different things will have different things. But ultimately, you're just like shooting a few things, move to the end of the mission, move to the next place.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. I'll give this a look. This seems fun. I didn't like the starting ink color because it wasn't distinct enough from the floor color.
Not high enough contrast.
No, it's sort of a like a metallic light pink.
Yeah, and is the tone of this world a little bit sort of almost sepia-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
a little sort of brown-washed.
Not even necessarily brown,
No.
but like heading into the very, very light brown, very light
beige to
sepias.
light brown, yeah.
Yeah, sort of a marigold. And it's like, it's very hard to pick out this colour, especially at certain angles. Like, if you look at it from more top down, you can spot all the metallic pigment in it.
Yeah.
But from, like, side angles, which is closer to what you're usually doing while you're walking, it's like, I can't actually tell where my ink is. and I need to recharge. Yeah, I've been slowly getting into it, and as you mentioned, alluded earlier, I finally got to level 4 and I was like, cool, I'll go and check out the weapon shop. And I went into the weapon shop and they were like, oh, well, you've got access to this, and it comes with this, and this is the side weapon with it. Oh, but don't worry, you've also unlocked access to this, and it's got this, and it's got this side weapon, and this is the special. But also, you've got access to this, and it's got this side weapon and this special, and you've also got access to this. It's like, could you not have just, introduced me to one and then, let me go for a little test with it, and then introduce me to the next one and let me go for the test with it, rather than just saying words at me for 10 minutes?
Yes, not thinking about the new player a couple of years in experience.
Yeah, I don't know how much of this is because I've got the expansion stuff or what, but it was just I just want to buy another gun so I can go back and play the game more.
Show me all of the guns, and then if I click on one, tell me what it does.
Yeah.
That's a way you could do it. Put an exclamation mark so I know it's got an explanation. I click on it, you tell me what it does.
Yeah, and despite all of those things, I still ended up getting into the game and going, I don't really understand which button is which and what the difference is between my R button and pressing the right stick. Also, once again, I hate having to press fucking sticks. It is always the least comfortable button press on any console for me. Give me a paddle button. Give me just any other fucking button.
Yeah.
It feels like there are a decent number of buttons on a Switch too.
Yeah.
That aren't necessarily being used.
Well, you always have the option of system level button remapping to go, I don't care about this function, put that on the clicky stick.
Agreed, but you just...
Shouldn't have
clicky
to.
Clicky sticks, no.
Yeah.
No clicky sticks.
I'm not a fan of the clicky sticks.
No. Yeah, but otherwise, very much enjoying getting back into it. Feeling like I'm getting to grips with it more again.
Yeah.
Learning what different power-ups do and stuff. Remembering that I've got my Inkling amiibo over there. Giving that a try. Unlocking myself a whole bunch of extra stuff. Might have to dig the wonderful amiibo cards out.
The totally legitimate amiibo stack out.
Yeah.
That fits in a nice box.
That I got off of Wish. And has some of the most amazing knockoff art.
Oh, I still love some of that art so much.
It's the for me, it's the Bowser and the Wario.
Twink Luigi's fun.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, what have you been playing?
I've mostly been playing Death Stranding 2 this past couple of weeks.
Death Stranding 2? These past couple of weeks, but it only comes out tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, Thursday.
Yeah, I have been playing Death Stranding 2 for about 2 weeks, and so for anyone who's not played the first game, you go on a lot of very long walks, and plot happens at you, and it's very exaggerated, silly Kojima plot, where we're explaining, there are ghosts outside, and if you touch the ghosts, a nuke goes off, and if you go outside in the rain will make you old, and everyone is named after what they do, like Die Hard Man, and Dead Man, and Heart Man, he's got a thing with his heart.
Yep. And then you've got Mama, who's a mama.
Yeah.
Also a mechanic.
It's very Kojima, and it is a game that is not really about combat, and is about going on long walks and being a bit weird.
I'm meeting Conan O'Brien.
Yes, there's less of the obnoxious celebrity placement in the sequel.
That you know about.
Of what I have seen, having seen credits roll, I noticed less obnoxious celebrity placement. Death Stranding 2, a lot of the same, but I think it is a much more recommendable experience. What I will say is, mechanically, very similar, probably not largely going to change anyone's opinion who mechanically does not like the pacing and overall conceit of this game.
It seemed like there was a lot more driving than walking.
I mean, that was always a thing that you could do in the first one, but I did a lot of driving places that I really shouldn't have been able to drive by Skyrim horsing my way up places. Yeah, it's... How to explain this? Mechanically, the biggest difference is clearly enough people were put off by it being a quote-unquote walking simulator that they made some concessions about combat. There is a bit more combat available if you want it, and where previously, you had to largely do melee, stealth and melee, because you couldn't kill people, because if you kill people, they turn into ghosts that might explode. And you can't fight the ghosts with normal weapons. You've got to fight them with, like, blood grenades and your piss and whatever.
Yeah.
In this, the guns now have special bullets that only knock out human beings, so you can get your assault rifle and, you know, load a bunch of bullets into a person. It's okay, they're not dying, they're just getting knocked out. And, the ghosts, we put some blood in the bullets so you can just shoot the ghosts with your bullets now. Both human and ghost enemies, you can kind of just shoot them with guns now. Some of those things are a little bit like, clearly they made some concessions to people who wanted this to feel more like a Metal Gear Solid. And I don't think... Including
putting Snake in there.
It's not quite Snake, but it kind of looks like Snake.
Sorry.
They've made some of these concessions, but I don't think these concessions are fundamentally going to change people's opinion on this game. If you don't like a game that is largely go on long meditative walks and in the last 3 minutes some emotional music might play and then story happens, you're probably not going to enjoy this. What I think this does way better is narrative. I think the story in this is fascinating. It is way more restrained than I expect out of Kojima. Not to say it doesn't
You've done it again, you've put restrained and Kojima in the same sentence.
No, not to say that it doesn't get weird and bonkers. To be clear, like, there are points definitely in the last, 4 or 5 hours where I would compare this to, the musical sequence in Alan Wake 2, levels of exaggerated nonsense. But for a good, 90-95% of this, it is just quite serious and not over-exaggerated and beating you over the head with things. Talking very light thematic ideas about this game. The thing that I think this game succeeds at most is being a story about male grief. It's a story about male grief that isn't expressed through violent anger and vengeance.
What? Men can have more than one emotion.
Right. Men can feel grief and not go, I need to murder 1,000 people on a vengeance quest about it.
Kojima goes woke confirmed.
Yeah, you men can have grief that might look like, struggling to get out of bed, might look like struggling with self-motivation, might look like a whole bunch of different things. Without getting into specifics, the story delves on ideas of things like someone's grief being kind of used against them to get them to do what you want, sort of manipulation of people who are grieving, the healing process from grief and what that can look like, the difficulties with real-world recovery from certain kinds of grief. It delves into real-world diagnostic conversations about grief in ways that I didn't expect it to. It takes swings at the United States of America politically that I didn't expect it to. Good. Such as conversations about, hey, if we go down to Mexico and start connecting them up to essentially the American government internet, how much is that because, we want to help them, and how much of that is because of colonialism and that they'll become reliant on US infrastructure? It asks questions like, the US, pointing out topics about the US wanting to have control of borders, national borders, and who they would or would not allow to pass through national borders. Questions about whether it is okay for technologically powerful countries to keep accelerating their technology, knowing the global damage it is doing is largely being felt by people in the global south. And these things, I expect Kojima to look at the camera and wink at you and tell you he's doing them. And in the last 5 hours of the game, there's a couple of moments where a character will literally just look down the camera and go, I bet some of you guessed what that meant earlier in the game. It means this. And I'm like, okay. But for most of the game, Kojima resists the urge to, look down the camera and go, aren't I smart for asking you this question? it does what I think this series needed, which is it will pose an interesting idea and then just let you go on a walk for half an hour, giving you space to think about that thing. I keep seeing people bring up a quote from a Rolling Stone interview with Kojima just before this game launched. And the quote that I keep seeing people bring up, I agree. It's laughable, it's stupid. Without further context, it does look a bit laughable. Is this quote in which he talks about, playtesters played my game and too many of them liked it, so I went back and changed things. And, it's kind of laughable. But the quote I find more interesting, having finished this game, is in that same interview he says something to the effect of, if too many people walk away instantly understanding my work and knowing that they like it and knowing why they like it, then my work was already pre-digested. And that's the thing that I think does make sense of what Kojima says, having finished this game, is it deliberately doesn't spoon-feed you the answers in the way that Kojima usually can't help himself doing. It will pose a thought...
Allowing a little more lynching.
Yeah, it is hard not to think of David Lynch doing his, Eraserhead is my most spiritual film, no, I won't elaborate. It feels like part of this is Kojima going, sometimes it's okay to float the idea that maybe connecting places to the chiral network might be akin to colonialism, and to not bring it up again, and to just let you have that 30-40 minute trek you're about to take be where you ponder about that.
Yeah.
And where you mull over, is it the same, is it different, what makes it the same, what makes it different, how do I feel about the fact that I am doing this? And I appreciate it. As much as people laugh at the idea of restraint and Kojima being mentioned in the same sentence, I think it kind of makes sense here. I powered through this somewhat, because I had a deadline to get it done and to see it through. I am definitely going to keep chipping away at this over time, going back and playing more. This has made me really go, if this was available on something like the Switch 2, if I could play this on a handheld, I could see myself losing a couple hundred hours to it.
Maybe
pretty easily. It's a real nice second activity while listening to a podcast. Just beautiful environments, going on nice walks. It's got some accessibility problems. The biggest one being, one of the core mechanics of this game is if you're carrying a bunch of stuff and you might fall over, you got to hold down L2 and R2 to steady your balance. If you're climbing big, heavy cliffs, you're going to be holding down L2, R2 for a lot of time while playing. And
that's not good for your hands.
Yeah, well, there are toggles for things like you can toggle sprinting rather than holding it, you can toggle menus. You can't toggle the balance hold. And that's, I think, the biggest accessibility problem the game has. If that could be a toggle, you could just press those buttons and be in, I can't sprint, but I'm more balanced mode. Tap again, be out of that mode. I think it would be a lot easier accessibility-wise to recommend the game.
No, we need you to do that for immersion.
But, yeah, I have... There's one plot point late on I'm not a fan of in this game, and I want to leave it a little bit before I get into specifics on it, because it's quite late in the game, and obviously people have barely started playing by the time this is going to come out, but... While I think largely Kojima asks very interesting questions that I agree with the position that the game seems to be positing, there is a point late in this game where, an antagonist is introduced, and their plan is introduced, and the way that, the heroes go, no, we're gonna stand against that, kind of made me feel like Kojima was having a bit of a rant at something real-worldy from the last couple of years, that... it feels a bit gross. And it's a shame. It is a blight on a game that I otherwise think is pretty masterful. It's a very interesting video game. I am very glad I played it. As someone who felt very so-so about the first Death Stranding, I will be surprised if I don't think of this during Game of the Year thoughts at the end of the year, and I didn't expect that going in. Yeah. I had a very good time with it.
Yay!
What about you? What you been playing?
We played a whole bunch of Mario Kart World together.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we played through GP modes all the way through in 100cc and about halfway through in 150. Because I had not done any of that yet. It's a real big culture shift to go from 150 back to 50cc.
Yeah.
It just feels like you're not moving.
You see why people start doing 150 and go, even if I'm losing, I kind of got to stay here now.
I guess, yeah, but like I'm not good at I'm not good at 100. I'm definitely not good at 150.
It's one of those things that feels a little like changing a game to 60 FPS and turning it back to 30 and going, oh, was I okay with this before?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess at this point it doesn't matter because I've already done all the, like, 3-star gold awards and basic medals for 50cc, so just playing the others is something I can chip away at.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a good time doing that and trying to unlock a bunch more of the skins.
Yeah.
We've 100%ed a bunch of the characters, but there's still more to get through.
There is a lot of content to unlock in this game.
Yeah. I've done a bit more free roam and got some more P-switches. I finally found some of the question mark blocks.
Yes.
Which I had sort of seen the shadow versions of on the map screen, but I hadn't realised what that actually meant until I found them.
it means that they're in the tracks somewhere as opposed to like the roads between them.
I believe that is the case.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. So we're working through a bunch of that stuff and slowly pottering away with that. I played a bit of Fast Fusion.
Yeah, how'd you find it?
I didn't feel like it super explained its mechanics.
No, it does just kind of throw you in.
And I get the impression there's something about fusing vehicles as well.
Yeah, there is a menu you can go into where you pick two vehicles, you smush them together. You now have a vehicle that looks kind of like both of them and has new stats.
Sure. Yeah, I haven't really futzed around with that, but I just looked at the menu and it was like, do you want to fuse the vehicles? No, I've only just looked at them. I don't want to start fucking about with them in case I break the cars I start with.
No, you can unfuse them at any time.
Oh,
if you don't like the fused thing, you can just have the others back.
Again, not explained.
No, it doesn't explain itself well.
Or at all.
It move fast and is fun and pretty lights happen.
Yeah, for all people's complaints about it, about like the way it renders and stuff, at speed, especially in handheld, you don't notice any of that shit.
Yeah,
so.
having watched Digital Foundry's coverage, I'm like, yeah, no, if I'm not playing it, I can technically look in the distance and see that DLSS fizzle you're talking about, but like, in the middle of a race, I got too much other shit to be looking at.
Yeah, I've got to work out whether my engine's the right colour.
I think it was you that pointed out it feels kind of like the way that PSVR 2 does its rendering. Foveated rendering. It's putting the most resolution on the place you're going to be that you are looking at.
Yeah.
And going, other stuff is in your periphery. We can kind of fudge the numbers.
Yeah, that is definitely the feeling I'm getting. Because like when we watched that Digital Foundry video, there was lots of like long pauses of stuff and like blowing stuff up as big as possible, even on our already quite large telly.
Yeah.
To then be like, yeah, but you see this in the background. It's like, yeah, maybe I can see that in stills, or, if you point it out to me in like a repeating piece of the same bit of track.
But when I'm trying not to crash into a fan that's spinning around.
Or a big spiky ball.
Oh, the big spiky balls.
Then, yeah, like, I'm not going to notice that stuff.
Yeah.
But, it looks great. It's not expensive, really.
Yeah, I think it's like a tenner.
Something like that. It's, considering it's got to stand up against Mario Kart World, I think it's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you played anything else?
What else have I played? Very quickly, I'll touch on two games that I did accessibility consulting on came out this week. And I'm very quickly going to mention them. One of them is Word Atro. It's that Balatro-inspired roguelite that is Scrabble, where you build Scrabble words and then you pick modifiers that are going to help you make your score, and then you spell more Scrabble words. And Nanomon Virtual Pet, where you do little mini games to raise a little virtual creature on your desktop while you're doing other things. But if you've got a friend that's also playing Nanomon, you can do Pokemon battles against your virtual pet versus theirs based on how you've trained them.
And it's got adorable pixel art.
It's got adorable pixel art. So yeah, those are both out now, and I'm in the credits. You can see I did work on them things.
You did do work on them things.
You played anything else this week?
Started playing some Overcooked 2 with Lauren over on twitch.tv/Janiac. It was on sale this week, and Lauren was like, let's have some kitchen-based chaos. And it was funny. I think I must have played this at some point on Game Pass, but, fuck Microsoft, because because they're supporting terrorism.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was weird, because, we got into the first level, I was like, I don't think we did very well there, and we got 3 stars. And we got into the second level, and I was like, I don't think we did very well here either. And we got 3 stars again. And I realised that I think I must have played this to some degree at some point on something. Because very definitely I was already, the equivalent of, one world in to where I was expecting the difficulty level to be. Because when we got to that point, it was exactly as I expected. I was like, we hadn't done very well there.
Oh, I see.
Now I see.
You were doing, quote-unquote, not very well for a harder level, and then went to an easier you were playing an easier level, going I need to play better than this, oh no, that's okay here.
That's fine here. And then we got, an hour in, I was like, oh yes, this is the sort of expectation I had for when I thought we were doing badly.
Yeah. I think we played some of it together at some point.
Yeah, and that, I think, is... Because I checked my Steam library, it's it's not in there, it's not on my Epic. Well, I guess I know where it must have been.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure I played one of these games. But yeah, having a good time, and I think we talked to Alice while recording Humorous Tolerant News this week, so we know that Alice has it as well, so it could become 3 or 4 player chaos at some point. So come hang out and stream on a Thursday night if you want to watch us screaming at each other in a kitchen that might be on fire or blowing around in the wind or whatever else.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you played anything else?
The only other thing I've been playing is I played through to completion Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which is that essentially a interactive manual/tech demo/minigame collection that's a tenner on Switch 2. And here's the thing about it. I don't think it's terrible. I think that it stands up poorly when compared to something like Astro's Playroom shipping with the PS5.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was never going to be the thing that people wanted to be playing on exciting new console launch week. I think if you've got other things to be playing, it's gonna feel like you are wasting your time experiencing this rather than other things you could be playing. But if you have a quiet moment and you're like, I'm not sure what else to play, and I kind of want to know weird little esoteric facts about how the Switch exists, and fuck around with tech demos for tech that I theoretically know is in the Switch 2, but no games have really done anything with yet, and just kind of get to know the new system. I had a decent time with it.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of, there's a lot of it where I'm going around doing the quizzes, and being told things that I know inside and out, and it really feels like a bit of a waste of my time. But then occasionally, there'll be a little fact that the tism in my brain will go, oh, that's fucking interesting.
We're talking about, the motors can make one-up noises.
Yeah, the motors are so interestingly tuned that they can make, very nuanced sounds come out of them, which is
one-up
interesting.
noise is quite incredible, because it's a little sequence of notes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that could do bass necessarily very well, but it does that really well.
Yeah, stuff like one of them that's very interesting just because it's aligned with a news story that's happened this week is there's a company that was releasing Switch 2 cases, and they're quite expensive. They're $80.
Oh yeah.
Where if you pick up the Switch 2 while it's in this case by one side, the Joy-Con will just come off. And the reason for that is revealed in Welcome Tour. Because this new case, the case on your Switch console and the case on the Joy-Cons sit touching each other. There's no gap between them, and the console has a millimeter gap. Because by having a millimeter gap, it makes it harder for there to be a fulcrum point where there's enough pressure to break the connection of the magnet.
Yeah.
It gives like wiggle room where there's nothing to pivot against, so the magnet can't break its flush connection. Whereas this case, by touching, means that like a much smaller amount of pressure is needed to go, oh, we turn slightly and the magnets disconnect.
And that is one of the so far as I'm aware, that is like one of the only ways that the leaks like shape like 3D print files for the Switch 2. That there's nothing that could have told you. That couldn't have been revealed from what we already knew prior to launch.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. But like, yeah, if you want to fuck around with tech demos where it's like, oh, I can feel a shape that doesn't exist with a mouse and hear the 1-up sound come out my Joy-Con and like do weird little mini games and then occasionally learn about like the thickness of plastic over the magnets and like trying to the work that went into finding exactly the right thickness of plastic to have between the magnets to have them attach firmly but be detachable. Like it scratched an itch.
Yeah.
It scratched an itch, but it definitely was there's no time you could have released it other than console launch day, but I don't think it's the kind of experience that anyone wanted on console launch day.
No.
But if you're a little bit autistic, there might be something worthwhile in there for you.
Yeah.
Anything else that you've played?
No, I think that's it for me.
Well then, time for this.
So, as you can see, this is a lovely beachfront property. You've got your own water feature here, and obviously very close to a nice sea view.
I mean, yeah, but I'm not certain about the size. Like, the square footage isn't ideal.
Well, no, but there is room for expansion, as you can see.
Yeah, but, like, am I going to need planning permission? And how sturdy are the build materials?
They're all natural.
That's not what
Except
I asked.
for the little flag. The little flag was an addition made by the previous owner.
Yeah, see, the problem, I think, is that I'm not certain of the structural integrity even before we start talking about weather conditions, but I think as soon as we get weather conditions in, the wind and the damp, I think, are just going to absolutely ruin the resale value.
Well, you do have this lovely moat feature, which I'm sure you could populate with, maybe some crabs or something.
Yes, but as soon as it rains, I think that we're just going to have a whole big problem on our hands.
Well, you'd be perfectly within your rights to just shush it back together again.
Yeah, I'm more in the market for a house that I'm not going to have to shush back together.
So you don't think this child's sandcastle is really going to be for you, then?
Not for me. Maybe try offering it to the hermit crab down the beach.
Well, I mean, if we're talking down the beach, we do have one of the fancy children's sandcastles that's made with the bucket with the little towers on the corners.
I mean, I'll
Maybe
give it
go
a
little
look.
Crenellation.
I'll give it a
Well,
look.
that'll take you along. Hello.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, do you like GeForce?
Well, yeah, I could go for a gravitational force.
Do you like the idea of moving so fast that your ears touch behind the back of your head?
Ooh, hadn't considered moving that fast, but probably fun.
Do you like holding your arms up in the air and screaming because you want to go faster?
I whether I actually want to go faster or not, I'll tell them I do.
Well, this week's sponsor is the Ultra Mega Spinnerator.lol.net.
Oh, tell me more.
The roller coaster that's guaranteed to trigger motion sickness in even the strongest of stomachs.
Oh, that's a bit...
15 loops, 20 corkscrews, 30 inversions, and a section where it's just kind of like freestyle jazz, but uppy-downy, spinny-roundy.
That sounds not great for my health. That is a lot of inversions, though.
Fun. If you can hold most of your food in.
I just want to eat for a day or two before going on. That's probably safe, right?
Probably.
Can't throw anything up if I ain't got nothing.
Yeah, and that definitely won't leave you with low blood pressure, which might affect how you deal with the ride and such.
I'm sure it's safe. They wouldn't make it if it wasn't, probably.
Probably. The Ultra Mega Spinnerator.lol.net. It's available now at biggest theme parkus
Ooh, I hear they're quite the biggest theme parkers.
The biggest? Don't hold on that. So, what have you put in your eyes and ears?
We put a film in our eyes this week.
We did.
We both went and saw Elio, the new Disney Pixar film.
Which we didn't have to pay for.
We didn't have to pay for. What did you make of Elio?
It was really sweet.
Right, and just as autistic as I hoped it was going to be.
Yes.
It's very autistic.
Yes.
Very sweet.
It's very sweet. It's
very funny.
It's one of those, like, if you feel like an outcast, if you feel like you don't connect to anyone, and feeling a bit abandoned and left behind for various reasons, that you can find a community.
Yeah. It is a film very much about the experience of feeling like the things that you are passionate about and you care about aren't important to the people around you, and worrying that you are pushing people away by loving the things you love.
Yes.
There is one moment that absolutely fucking broke my heart in relation to people's perspectives on your passions.
Yes. Yeah.
This film knows how to, like, drill right to the fucking core of me, and go, hey, we see you.
Wow, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
The main friendship between the two main characters, so sweet.
Yes.
So lovely. Fuck that cop.
Fuck that cop.
I know they're not technically a cop, but fuck that cop. If you've seen that film, you will know who the fucking cop is. Don't rat people out.
Nope.
Don't be a cop.
Don't be a cop. Ever.
Yeah, there was not really any downtime in it. It was a very concise, solid start to finish film.
Yeah. And it tries to be a horror at one point.
That it does.
It does a really good job for it. Once again, children's focused horror does a really good job of being really unsettling.
Yeah, having to not be gory makes you get creative, and I would never have thought, like, a tiny piece of hair would be as scary as that film made it.
Yes, it was uncomfortable.
Yes.
That and the other scene just after that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Very uncanny. Well done.
Yes, it made me care about its world and its characters deeply. Very good film. Very much enjoyed.
Yay.
What about you? What you put in your eyes?
We started watching New Who, 2005 Who.
Oh yeah, we've just this evening finished watching Christopher Eccleston's run of Doctor Who episodes. God, Eccleston's season was great.
He was a great Doctor, and I am glad that he's decided to go to Big Finish to do some more Ninth Doctor stuff. Apparently there's a whole series with him and Billy Backers. That's going to be going on for the next couple of years.
We talked a lot during watching it that, like, that first season with Eccleston really nails what a Doctor Who season can be. In that it doesn't bog itself down at the start with over-explaining existing canon. It just kind of gets into it and lets itself explain itself as it goes.
Yeah, it lays the groundwork for, like, the Time War happened.
Yeah.
But we're not going to explain what that is necessarily, other than the trauma it left.
It sets up Billy Gray. Billy Piper as Rose plays a companion who isn't just completely enamored with the Doctor, will push back on the Doctor, but is enamored with the life.
Yes.
I can't go back to the mundane after I've been a part of saving the universe.
And the mindset of, like, I have to step up now.
Yeah. There are so many people that need saving, and I could risk myself to save them. How can I just not do that now that I know? There's a wonderful speech she gave in that finale of season 1.
Yeah.
Of being like, there are people who are being hurt, who are being victimized, who are being devastated. How can I just sit here and know that and not do anything about it?
It felt very timely.
Yeah. They do a great job with being deferent to the past of Doctor Who without feeling too beholden to it.
Yeah.
fucking love Eccleston. Eccleston gives such a damn good performance all the way through.
Yeah. He had a real character that was very much his own, and I feel like it tapped into, like, Sylvester McCoy era stuff.
Yeah.
Some of that mugging and like little jokes and stuff. I feel very much of that sort of era.
It's easy when talking about Eccleston to talk about like the big moments people remember of like that episode where the one Dalek is introduced.
Dalek.
And Eccleston's absolute fucking terror at being locked in a room with the thing.
Yes.
But like the things rewatching it that I really appreciated was stuff like the way that he would flick, like on an instant, from serious and cold and determined to childlike glee and that huge beaming grin on his face that, I've done it, I've come up with an idea, this is going to be great. Like, the speed with which he can go from, I will decimate a planet if I have to stop you fucking getting back out into space, to, there! I did it! Yay!
And the fact that he had pulled that trick multiple times during the season
Yes.
of genuinely having those moments of, I've got an idea, brilliant.
Yeah.
To just snapping that in that final episode of the season to be like, I'm sending you home, but in such a way that, like, you won't suspect it because you know this is me. Eureka! I've had my Eureka moment.
Yeah.
Okay, now I just need to stand there and hold that and I'll be back in a second.
It's so well played, because the thing I kept thinking about during rewatching this first season was he plays those moments almost like a person with ADHD who's like, I've had an idea, we got to do it right now before I forget what it was. and it sells that moment in the season 1 finale so well, because like he doesn't stop to explain what he's doing, but it's like, don't worry, just trust him. He's having a moment. He'll explain as it's going on what it is.
Yes.
And you just kind of get wrapped up in his enthusiasm in a way that's really hard to stop and question. But yeah, for all that I think of him as the very serious, like, stern version of the Doctor, he's really not. Like, maybe my favourite moment of this first season was the one with the gas mask faces.
Oh god, that is an incredible episode.
But it's that moment at the end where he goes, this time, Rose, everyone wins. This time, everybody lives. Everyone wins this time. And it's this... You see it almost like a weight lifting off the shoulders of someone who has seen so many horrors going, I so rarely get to just see everyone be okay.
Yeah, and especially in a season where we've seen, like, we had the Nestine in the first episode talking about, like, it's here because all of its, like, food planets died.
Yeah.
Then we've got the Gelth from the second episode. And, like, yep, they lost their physical forms and their home planet during the Time War. And we'd had lots of these terrible things. And this was an ambulance that had crashed into wartime London that had tried its best to do a thing but didn't know what a human was.
It was trying to help and doing terrible things in the process.
Yeah, nanobots.
Yeah, but like, that episode, like, really contrasts watching this season with, like, both the Dalek saying to him, you would have made a good Dalek, and at the other end, him very genuinely willing to kill all life on Earth if it means stopping the Daleks getting away.
Yes.
And, like, in the middle of there, being just, I get my one happy moment where this isn't about me having to make terrible, I can't live with them choices. Sometimes everyone just gets to be safe. And in that moment, the way he acts it to me feels like I have to hold on to this because, like, I couldn't get through all of the shit like the Time War and the choice I'm being forced to make at the end of this season. I wouldn't be able to get through that shit if not for hanging on to the times where everyone gets to win. And everyone gets to live for once.
Yes.
And that there'll be more of those.
Yeah. I need to build a core memory on this day.
Yeah.
And I feel like... I said this earlier, like, it feels like having watched it when it first aired and watching it now, the things that annoyed me as a younger person, I'm very much more willing to forgive now.
Yeah?
Yeah, like, I think we talked about this a few times with, like, actors who, at the time, I was like, you're an adult, why are you so terrible?
Yes.
And now going, oh yeah, you were only, like, a teenager.
Yeah.
You weren't much older than me. In fact, in some cases, you're probably younger than me at the time.
Yeah.
And just to, like, not give them that credit. And Mickey is a weird character. He's not well written most of the time.
He has his fucking incel moments.
He's got a real clingy incel vibes.
That one episode in Cardiff, where he's like, "I've missed you so much. I cheated on you. Please, like, give up on your adventures with the Doctor and stay with me." Like, he's fucking all over the place and weirdly controlling. Like, it's not a, hey, I need to leave this relationship. It's not working for me. It's clear that your adventures with the Doctor are a higher priority, and that's okay. But I need to move on from this.
Yeah, and considering he was one of the, like, closest to a main character who was a person of colour in the show, to have him be that, to be that, full stop.
Yeah, to be this, like, possessive...
Yeah, just, like, could we not have had some more rounded characters?
Yeah, and I will say, I think Rose's mum, Jackie, I'm not going to say I like her. I think she's fascinating. I think she is a character of contradictions and chaos and who does not have her life together, but I think she makes a really interesting counterpoint to where Rose's life was going. Makes a lot of sense in the context of Jackie, and the complete U-turn Rose takes when she starts travelling with the Doctor, putting her in conflict with her mother, I think is interesting.
Yeah.
And I think they pay it off well in that finale with the, hey, think back to the day that Dad died. Think about it for a second, Mum. You know.
Yeah.
I think
and
that
especially when you go back to that episode of Dad dying.
Yeah.
The fact that the episode starts with, and your dad died alone.
Yeah.
And ends with, and there was this girl with your dad.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is Mum clearly has to remember it because it's become this core part of how she tells the story.
Yeah.
And
or it certainly was when Rose was little.
Yeah, and I do still think that episode at the church with Rose's dad holds up really well.
Yes. Also the fact that it gets to a point where the Doctor knows the answer.
Yeah.
And he knows that all of the pieces are in place for the rest of them to work it out for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'm going to take myself out of this equation. Bye.
It's one thing I really like about Eccleston's Doctor is his willingness to either trust other people to know what needs to be done, or to go, I can see where this is going and I'm going to make an executive decision. To not always talk it through with other people, and to go, I trust the plan I have and I trust this will work out and I just have to leave it in not my hands. In a way that I don't think many of the other Doctors do.
Yeah, it's been a good series, and from the point of view of having listened to a whole bunch of the Big Finish stuff and the Time War stuff, to sort of go, it all still fits. It all still fits, even though none of that stuff is obviously clearly stated at this point.
I am enjoying rewatching this from a perspective of thinking about what season 1 could mean for the future seasons of Doctor Who.
For the end of the most recent episode.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Yeah, I really like Rose as a character.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah.
And as much as I wish we got more Eccleston, I am excited for David Tennant. Matt Smith, I remember having much more polarizing feelings on Matt Smith entering and his sort of shift toward the goofy.
I remember loving 10, and I mean, I think the fact that 11 is based more on, like, a Patrick Troughton.
Yeah.
And that, like, level of goofiness. Like, I definitely see it. I remember at the time really struggling with the transition, but more than anything else, like, really not liking Rory. Rory was my biggest issue with that.
I remember liking Matt Smith, but I also... It's the initial switch to suddenly, like... I remember the fish fingers and custard thing happening and going, this feels like a lol so random t-shirt you'd buy at Camden Market. Like, it's got the I baked you a cookie but I eated it energy.
Would you say the same thing, having recently watched some of the, like, beginning of Sylvester McCoy stuff? Because we watched Time in the Rani, and some of that, like, initially.
I would say Sylvester McCoy comes across as a believable human, well, not a human being, but as a believable person who is, like, scatterbrained and chaotic in a very ADHD kind of stumbling through things way. It feels less like a I never really got the feeling with Sylvester McCoy that someone sat down and went, "What's a weird quirk we could give you?"
No,
in that same way that I kind of felt about Matt Smith initially.
Yeah, I mean, and I think specifically with Time and the Rani, the Doctor is very much in a state of, like, he doesn't fully remember who he is.
Yeah.
Or who the Rani is, or, like, what something's in. So it's got, like, malapropisms of, like, confusing words and phrases and
there's a contextual layer rather than it being, like, a core character trait.
Yeah.
And again, I want to be clear. I do think Matt Smith has a lot of great episodes. I think,
yes.
on the whole...
Especially towards the end.
On the whole, I'm very much looking forward to revisiting him. He is the one where I feel like it was a little bit of a sudden jump in the deep end with him. Whereas Tennant felt like a smooth transition, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, like, I really struggled with the beginning of Tennant, but the last time I rewatched, or the first time I rewatched, I actually found, firstly, that Matt Smith's era didn't seem as long as it had at the time, but maybe I'm not counting the fact of how many years there were between seasons or whatever. And also that he was altogether, I think he is generally a good Doctor, which
agreed.
I struggled with initially.
Yeah.
There are some slightly dodgy stories in there, but
yeah.
But yeah, like again, I feel like that was the dawn of going really hardcore into full season arcs. Like, Bad Wolf was kind of scattered. But it didn't feel like you needed to know every little thing every little aspect.
It really only was in the last 2 or 3 episodes that it started to get called out that it was a thing.
Yeah.
And even then, it was... The penultimate episode goes, "Here's a quick flash. Did you notice this word was everywhere?
Yeah.
That's a bit weird." Anyway, 2-part finale.
Yeah. Whereas, by the time we're getting to is it Death of the Doctor? The Pandora opens...
Yeah.
That stuff, that feels like they've really hammered home. Are you paying attention? Are you paying attention to all the things in the background? There's so much, there's a whole ARG to be going through.
Yeah, it really peaked with Capaldi, that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matt Smith, it starts to be more of a thing for sure.
Yeah, of course, the biggest problem I had with Eccleston was John Barrowman. We did have to put up with John Barrowman.
Look, he's a terrible person, but I can't deny he puts on a fun performance.
Yeah, at the time I very much enjoyed Captain Jack, but there is still very much in my brain now. Whenever I see him in anything, I'm like, can't behave at work.
No, I am curious to rewatch Torchwood at some point because that is.
I never watched it. I couldn't get into it. It was on a really wonky time of day.
I remember, I don't know if I saw all of it, I remember I watched a good amount of it.
I feel like I watched maybe 3 or 4 episodes during the first season, and
I'm curious to give it a full watching context.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Braced for the Barrowman.
Yeah.
I also, like, having recently listened to the Dark Gallifrey series, The War Master, there's Captain John. Did you encounter Captain John in Torchwood?
I
Played
honestly
by James Masters.
I honestly couldn't say. It's been too long. I remember very little.
He played Spike in Buffy.
Maybe?
And
that's feeling familiar.
He was also a time agent.
Yeah, this feels familiar.
Apparently he was in Torchwood. He turns up in the Dark Gallifrey War Master series. That whole series is fascinating. But yeah, that's it. New Who. We're rewatching New Who.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you watched anything else?
I don't think I've watched much else. Let me have a quick look. No, that's it really for me. You?
I want to talk about an album I've listened to like 3 times already.
Ooh, oh, this one, yes. I have this downloaded, haven't had a chance to listen other than the clips that keep surfacing on my TikTok.
This is Second Puberty by Strange New Places, and I'm pretty sure you can guess where that album's going.
Yeah.
This is an album about transness, depression, neurodivergence, struggling to fit in, loving yourself, fighting against the world, fighting against your own brain. I also found a clip of this on TikTok. There's a section from Full of Myself.
Yeah.
Which was shown on there, and that's good, like, shouty anthemic stuff. There's a few tracks in here that feel very transgender dysphoria blues.
Yeah, we were talking about this in bed last night. You were listening to the end of a track as we went to bed, and I was like, yeah, this is bouncy and punk in a way that, like, I've not heard this kind of bouncy punk tracks, really, like a good album of this kind of thing since Transgender Dysphoria Blues. I'm like, I could go for more of that.
Yeah, Full of Myself is, like a good track about, look, being your own cheerleader.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not full of myself, then who will be?
Exactly.
So, I will cheerlead myself. Coraline is kind of sad. There's a few tracks in this that really make it feel like a concept album. Where one runs into the other.
Yes.
And listening to it as a whole, you can't always tell where one track ends and the next track begins.
That going from the end, the end into Dead at the start of Black Parade sort of thing.
Maybe even more so than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. YATPYFL runs really well into Full of Myself. Then you've got Coraline, which runs almost entirely into this city. Sleep for Dinner is a really good track that is kind of about that feeling of livant.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill myself,
Yeah.
but I would like to livant for 25,900 days.
Yeah.
Asian Supermarket is about wanting to go on a date with someone in a kind of like, look, she want to go on a date, literally, metaphorically. To an Asian supermarket, which is to say, do you want to come with me to the Asian supermarket and we can hang out and get good food? Countertop surface. Do you want to kiss me on the countertop, white clean countertop surface? Second Puberty. We know what that's about. And Catharsis in D is the end of the album. And there's a line in there about hating the sun.
Yeah.
And feeling like you've got reverse SAD. And I definitely remember a time of quite severe depression matched with really bad photophobia.
Yeah.
Which, that really had me going for a while of just like, I don't do the sun. No sun. I go out after dark and I don't do anything with the summer and I wear black all the time and sunglasses.
Yes, your vampire face.
Yeah, my vampire face. When, hilariously, I turned up at someone's house quite late at night, and they were like, we were having quite a deep conversation. And she was like, can you take off your sunglasses? I can't focus when I can't see your eyes. And she snatched my sunglasses off my face, and I had another pair of sunglasses on underneath. I will never do anything that funny ever again in my life. It's a good album. Content warning for many things that might make you sad. But I really enjoyed it, and I love a lot of the upbeat stuff, and I love the slower, quieter stuff.
I'm excited to give it a listen when I have time to give it a proper listen.
It's available on Bandcamp, so if you want to give the money to the artist, then Bandcamp is probably best way to do it, generally speaking. I believe it's probably available everywhere else as well. I suspect it's available on Spotify. What about you? Have you
That's about it for
engaged in
me. Yeah.
Well then,
Time for this.
Inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi. So, one of our auteurs got out.
How?
I don't know. Someone brought them coffee, and they left the door open too long. And they got out and started talking to the press again.
Which one was it? It wasn't the one that overpromises, right?
No, it's the one who gets all artsy and weird.
They probably didn't understand what he said anyway.
I don't know. They did quote him as saying that he made the game worse because too many people would like it otherwise. Which,
people probably think that's a selling point.
No, people are taking that as, wait, the game could have been better and he made it worse. That's bad.
Can we not spin it somehow, like an emperor's new clothes kind of thing? Like,
okay.
If you don't like it, you're one of the idiots that he deliberately put the bad things in for. But if you love it, then you're one of the smart people who understood it all.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
On a deeper level.
Yeah. He had to make it less understandable so that he could tell which were the fans who really got it because they were so smart.
Yeah, who's got the highest IQ? It's IQ. You understand. You got it.
Yeah, you're not...
If you hated it, you didn't get it.
Yeah, you're not the fool in the crowd saying the Emperor's got no clothes on. You're the Emperor who knows he's got clothes on.
Yeah, he's got clothes on. He's got the clothes that we let him wear. It's mostly leather coats. And, we do have to pry Norman Reedus away from him again.
You are a fucking genius.
I know. No, really, we have to...
Yeah, the two of them are a little too close.
Yeah. You really have made the right decision. Adopting a cat from a shelter is so much better, really, than going to these big breeders. They don't necessarily keep their cats very well. They don't treat them very well.
No.
And obviously here, we make sure that every cat can find a loving home.
Well, exactly. And, by getting one from here, I'm gonna, have a sense of what its personality is like better than if I got a kitten and just sort of hoped it, happened to be one that liked cuddles or whatever.
Now, you said that you'd be quite happy to come and see our wing where we keep all our longest term residents.
Yeah. Let's have a look.
This is Phineas.
Oh. No. There's something about it that I can't. It's just not working for me.
That is a difficult face to love, we've found, but we still very much love Phineas, don't we? The stare is also quite unsettling.
I do feel like I'm on trial. I don't know what crime for.
We have Gertrude over here.
Oh goodness.
Would you like a bag?
Yeah, it feels like you trapped a human soul inside behind the eyes.
The eyes really are haunting, aren't they?
It does look like they're pleading, please turn me back into a human, you've got to find the wizard.
Well, okay, how about Samuel? This is Samuel, a very, unique cat, and... Yes, very, very unique.
Oh, goodness gracious. Are they, there's, the level of cobwebs, are they still moving?
The cobwebs, mainly just because no one's willing to come down here and clean this particular cage.
Not because the cat's 4,000 years old.
Well, about that era, but yes, you got me. This is the era of medieval cats, where we keep all the cats from the medieval paintings.
Oh.
So can we interest you in one of our special little babies?
You know what? I'll take the one that looks like it's pleading with me to find the wizard that did this. Maybe I'll luck out and find the wizard.
It's the human nose that gets me. Had they even seen a cat? Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Brochure Justice Warriors.
Yeah.
Right, Harry. How you doing? Oh, mate, I would like to live in less interesting times now, mate.
I've said it many a time. I would like to live in uneventful times, please. I would like the history books to not really care about the time I lived in.
Yeah, I like them to go, well, nothing really happened there. Everything actually sort of blew over, sorted itself out, and people just generally decided to not be dicks to each other.
It was the couple of decades where people just sort of got on with things, but no.
People realised it had all been a bit much up to then, and they stopped all of that, knocked it on the head.
Yeah, unfortunately, that does not seem to be the case. Attempts at starting wars going on at the moment.
Yeah.
seem to have a lot in common with when America was trying to start, starting the war in Iraq.
Yeah,
a lot of that playbook is being marched back out again at the moment, it seems.
Yeah, certainly old enough to remember, George H.W. Bush, and then obviously, post 9/11. It's in fact, throughout my entire life, obviously 1989 was Kuwait there. Yeah. Well, I feel like there's been, constant excuses for, invading somewhere or something.
Yeah. Well,
it's usually, people, presidents who are, doing slightly weak numbers or are considered slightly weak that are,
trying to make themselves look a little strong.
Well, yeah. What can we do? We can, push in one of the eyes. Pick one of the eyes. Listen, one of the eye countries.
One of the eyes of the Middle East. We start picking a fight, and we'll look strong. We'll drum up nationalism.
Yeah.
And again, looking at the repeated playbook, it sure seems like you point a finger at a country starting with I in the Middle East, and you go, they've definitely got the dangerous weapons. Or if they don't have the dangerous weapons, they imminently could make the dangerous weapons if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So, even though they don't have them, and there's no proof that they are making them, they could make them if they wanted to, maybe.
Yeah, and they've definitely been only moments away from having that exact thing since 1993.
Yeah, exactly. So, in self-defense, we've got to bomb them first to stop them making the weapon that there's no proof they were gonna make, that we have a bunch of, we're allowed to have a bunch of, but we can't let them have one.
Yeah.
So we got to do that. Then you start the fear-mongering campaign. You start drumming up your new, this is the country we've all got to be scared of and all got to hate.
Yeah.
Build up the flood of nationalism. It's all feeling very familiar.
Yeah, and also it's really shocking that in the same week that Forbes wrote a piece about how China was restricting exports of antimony and how they weren't going to be sending it to America, and that's kind of a thing that's being used in a lot of battery tech, and especially used in intercontinental missiles and things like that. And China was saying we're basically the only people who've really got any numbers, and we're not going to really allow any exports. In the same week, we start on Iran, who announced in March that they had found about 750,000 tons of antimony. And, it's interesting that those things sort of coincide.
Are you suggesting that America might try and start a war with a place in the Middle East under the pretense of stopping or finding or destroying dangerous weapons? But actually, because they want to go in and steal their resources.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting such a thing?
You know what? I might just be suggesting that very thing.
And you know what? I might even go as far as to suggest, who is another country that has recently been bombing Iran, who maybe also has a leader who is right now not doing particularly popular, is not very popular globally.
Well, and they are very much in the same, white Western playbook there, aren't they?
And suddenly going, you know what, if we start bombing a place and then say we did it in preemptive self-defense, which fucking reminds me of that Doctor Strangelove. We got to preemptively bomb the place in self-defense. Preemptive self-defense.
Before they even think of emptying.
Before they even think of emptying, we got to preempt their emptying. That was satirical comedy would never happen in real life. Might be a way for someone to drum up nationalism and try and gloss over other problems they got going on. It's almost like this is a very beneficial conflict for a couple of different world leaders who right now are not doing very well popularity-wise.
No, interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. It's fucking depressing.
It is fucking depressing, but I am glad that, from what I can tell, the people who are already mobilised for everything else that's going on are very much still staying on the streets and fighting for multiple things at once. It's good that we can be outraged for more than one thing at once.
It is important to be able to be enraged by multiple things. Yes.
Yeah. Sadly. I'm glad that the fight is being kept up, and there's a good number of people managing to stay out there where they can.
Yeah.
Fancy young mate.
Oh yeah.
Good hug, mate. Good hug. Right, I think we're going to have a nice cold shower.
Oh, sounds lovely.
Nice.
So, Laura,
Yes?
you do stuff on internet.
I do stuff on internet.
Where that stuff?
And stuff's at Laura K. Buzz, pretty much all the places you can find things. Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills. As little as $1 a month over there lets me keep doing all the stuff I'm doing. If you want to hear multiple hours of me talking about Death Stranding 2 in slowly increasing amounts of spoiler talk, I did about 2 hours of conversation for Fix Your Heart or Die.
That's a good podcast.
It's a good podcast. The first hour-long episode, largely, it starts very spoiler light and builds up to, by the end of it, have talked about, like, maybe the first 3 hours of the game. And, like, getting into some spoilers from that first 3 hours. The second hour-long episode going up goes, okay, if you've either completed the game or you don't mind being spoiled, we're gonna talk openly about, like, full game spoilers to dig into some of the narrative stuff I think is interesting.
Yeah.
So if you are curious about that game and want to be sold on it, or have finished it and are looking to listen to people have opinions about it,
There's an episode for all of these people.
yeah, go listen to Fix Your Heart or Die. Go check out the Death Stranding 2 episodes. We just finished also on that show uploading a 2-part podcast talking about the 1966 movie Persona, a Swedish language film that was an inspiration for David Lynch's work. You can see a lot of inspirations from Mulholland Drive in there. There's a 2-part podcast of us discussing this interesting Swedish film.
Yeah.
What about you? Where are you at on the internet?
Patreon.com/StoneMonkeyRadio. As little as $1 a month will help me keep doing all the things.
Yeah.
Linktree. I fixed my Linktree, linktree.ee/Janiac. For some reason I hadn't updated it since I deleted my Twitter. I don't have one of those. So.
No, you don't.
Nope. Yeah, that's me. So, Laura,
Yeah?
will you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.